Hello, grade 12s. Welcome to today's show. It's Economics with Ms. Piwe, and today we'll be looking at the public sector. Remember, in our previous lesson, we looked at the new economic paradigm, and we looked at economic indicators and so on. So in today's lesson, we are going to look at the public sector. We know that the public sector plays a very important role in the economy, and when we looked at the circular flow model, we looked at the government and the role that government plays in the circular flow. So in this lesson, we are going to explore the public sector and also define a couple of things that we usually come across when we are referring to the public sector. And then I know that when we talk of the public sector, we have a very broad definition or definition of what it is. So it's all the things that are related to government, all the agencies that are related to government, and then those we would often consider them as part of the public sector. But let's get more clarity around what the public sector is all about. So we're looking at the public sector, also known as the state or government. So just be aware of that terminology, because in a paper, they could refer to it as the state and or government. So the public sector, also known as the state or government, is responsible for providing certain goods and services to citizens. Okay, so the private or the public sector is there to provide certain goods and services to the citizens of a country. So it also determines the policy regarding these goods and services at national, regional, and local levels as well. When it's national, it's the entire country, and when it's regional, it also could be referred to as provincial, so looking at the 9 provinces in our country. And then when it's at a local level, it will be very specific to a small area, for example, around Johannesburg or around Pretoria or around Umtata. So it's going to be very specific to a local area. So we know that they are responsible for providing certain goods and services to citizens, but also determine policy in regards to these goods at national, regional, and local levels. The public sector is also involved in the delivery of social security, public facilities, and policing. Okay, so what do we mean by social security? We know that they are responsible for providing social grants, okay, to the elderly and also to young children that have parents that are unable to fully financially support them. The government will give them a certain amount of money to assist in that regard, and the elderly as well will receive a monthly income social grant at the end of each month. So that's what the government is involved in. Public facilities, that beautiful park that you have in your area, is part of the public sector plan, and also different, like the community hall that you use when you have weddings and all other things. It's part of public facilities. And then obviously policing is important because you need to have safety issues taken care of, having people who are there to manage situations and also to look after the members of the public. So policing comes in there. All right, so let's have a quick recap of what we have mentioned thus far in this lesson. So we've looked at what the public sector is, or what they are responsible for. So they are also known as the state or government, and they provide certain goods and services to citizens, but also they determine policy in regards to these goods and services at national, regional, and at local levels. The public sector is also involved in the delivery of social security. We chatted about the social grants there. Public facilities, the public swimming pool that you use, the community hall that you use, and also policing in terms of safety that plays a very important role. Okay, now we're going to move on and look at the composition and the necessity of the public sector. You know, it is so important, and sometimes we take it for granted, but it is a necessity that we have these services or these goods and services. And then, but also before we go to the necessities, let's look at the composition of the public sector. Okay, so we find the national or the central government, which is concerned with national issues like health, defense, education, safety, and security. Okay, so this will be at national level. Okay, excuse my handwriting there. There we are. Okay, so there will be health issues discussed over there. Defense is very important as a country, that we are able to protect ourselves in a situation where we are being attacked or our people are planning to come and take over our country, that our defense force should be in a good place to protect us at all times. Education is also very important and it's encouraged in our country, but safety and security as well are important matters, national matters that the central government is concerned with. It also includes non-profit organizations like SUBS and CSIR. Okay, so looking at the Bureau of Standards and also the Research Council. You know, research is important because you need information and data in order to make sound economic decisions. So you can't do that unless you have made proper research in the various issues that we've mentioned above. Then we've got the provincial or the regional government, so concerned with the administration of the 9 provinces. So we've got 9 provinces, in case you don't do geography, now you know. So it will be more concerned with the administration in these 9 provinces and also the economic issues specific to the region. Okay, so we know that our provinces are different. There are different minerals found in different provinces. Other provinces are well known for their tourism, others for their natural resources, others for the primary activities, fishing, forestry, and you know, Gauteng is known for mining, hence it's called Egoli, place of gold. So they will be concerned with specific economic issues that are found in that particular region. Okay, so that will be the provincial regional government. And then in the local government, they are concerned with local issues within a town or a municipal area. For example, electricity delivery, the libraries that are found in that area, traffic control, and the service of removing the rubbish and all that. So it's important that these issues are managed at the local government and they are not part of the national issues, because the national issues are around health, education, and social security. But within a specific municipal area, these are some of the issues that could be brought about or that need to be managed. Okay, so you just need to know the difference between national, provincial, and local government. So often you hear that we are holding the local government elections. So those will be more specific to that municipal area. And then if it's provincial in a particular province, and national, that's the entire country as a whole. Okay, moving on, and then we've got the public corporations, which are also known as the state-owned enterprises, the SOEs, that provide public goods and services, such as Eskom, Transnet, and subs as well. Okay, so these are corporations that provide us with public goods and services, and they are also known as SOEs, which stands for state-owned enterprises. Okay, so they also play a very important role. And then other books are still using parastatals to refer to the SOEs, which are the state-owned enterprises. All right, so we've looked at the composition of the public sector. We've looked at national, provincial, and local. And then also we've just mentioned the public corporations, the SOEs, or the parastatals, which are organizations that are concerned with public goods and services, or corporations that are concerned with that. And now we are going to look at the necessity of the public sector, because that's also very important. So we know that the first thing, they want to provide public goods. So what are public goods? Because I have been using this since we started today's lesson. So these are goods and services provided by the state for use by all members of the society. So it's not just a limited group, okay? So it's not just limited, but it's all members of society. So there are goods and services which are provided by the state for use by all the members of society, and they're not limited or exclusive to a particular group. So three groups can be distinguished. So this is very, very important. It does come up a lot in your shorter questions, starting with community goods. So these are goods of which there is a complete supply or none. For example, defense and police. Okay, so these are community goods. Okay, so goods of which there is a complete supply or none. So we know that with defense, government has to recruit people, send them for training so that we've got enough people in our defense force to protect the borders of the country, and also to protect the country so that it's not vulnerable to be attacked, you know, and also with policing. And we know that over the past couple of years, government has been spending more on increasing the number of police officers that we have in our country. So those will fall under the community goods. Then we've got the collective goods. They differ from community goods as fees or charges or tolls can be levied to exclude free riders. For example, if you want to go and chill in a exclusive beach, you could be expected to pay a fee in order for you to enter. Drainage as well. In certain parks, you have to pay a fee. If you are traveling to the Southern Cape and you want to go to, for example, Birds of Eden or something like that. So you will have to pay a certain fee in order to enter that particular park. And also we have national parks, you know, like the areas around the Table Mountain, where you are charged a fee, an entrance fee in order for you to have access to that. So those will be known as collective, and then you need to know the difference between the collective and the community goods as well. And then we've got the merit goods. These are goods provided by the state because it is believed that they would be undersupplied if their provision was left entirely to market forces. For example, education, healthcare, and research. Okay, so imagine if we just relied on the private school system for education. So that means that certain people, they would be overwhelmed actually, because they would not have the resources nor the capacity to accommodate all the children that are wanting to go to school. if we just had private hospitals and what was going to happen to the rest of the country, I think they would also just be overwhelmed in terms of accommodating all the citizens of the country. Hence, we need government in this regard to provide education, healthcare, and research. Hence, we've got public schools which would provide, I'm not going to say free education because at some public schools you still pay school fees, but it would be at a reasonable amount as compared to private schools where most parents pay a huge amount of money. Healthcare, private hospitals and public hospitals, we know in terms of capacity, the public hospitals are able to accommodate more people. And research as well. It could not just be left to the private sector to conduct research, but it is also shared in the public sector because the public sector has the infrastructure in order to deal with the quantity of the work that needs to be done in terms of research in our country. Okay. So in this section, I need you to be able to distinguish between these three groups that we have been discussing. So just going to go back up there. So our community goods, these are goods of which there is complete supply or none, for example, defense and police. Collective goods differ from community goods as fees or charges or tolls can be levied to exclude free riders. Okay, and then merit goods are provided by the state. So these are goods that are provided by the state because it is believed that they would be undersupplied if provision was left entirely to market forces. And for example, we mentioned education, healthcare, and research in that regard. Okay, so let us move on. Then also to conserve resources, government has to intervene to protect the environment. If the environment is exposed to insensitive and even careless use, it may be damaged. Okay, hence we've got when we say we're conserving the environment, the conservation groups and all that. So it comes from this, that we've got to conserve our resources so that they are regulated and that they are not overly exposed to insensitive and even careless use because we might actually run out of those resources. Just before we continue looking at the example in terms of the oceans for fishing and the air that we breathe, we're just going to take a short break and then we'll continue right after this.